guys. So several months back, well, first of all, we got our cow mugs. We used these a few months ago when we actually announced that we were getting Daisy. And we're bringing them out again because today is a day where we go over all of your questions about Daisy.
Cheers. So we've gotten so many questions coming in over the last month since we've gotten Daisy that we thought we'd go ahead and just put together a video trying to answer as many questions as we can.
And we're doing it in here because it's rainy outside and we've got a nice fire. It's cozy. Although I do have to say, we have a lot of solid surfaces in our living room. Wood floors, wood ceiling, and we're trying to limit the echo. So I hope there's not an echo. And the setup that we have here, I put a post out yesterday on the community page. We've got blankets like hemming us in with the fire. So if we start sweating profusely, that's why. Okay, so I tried to arrange the questions by subject so we're not all over the place. But this was a good question to start out with because it's kind of overall type of question. How do your concerns / considerations about bringing Daisy home compare to any you may have now that Daisy's on your homestead? And what's the biggest joy in having her home and what's the biggest challenge? We'll start with the first part.
I don't know if they've really changed because we haven't gone into like the major stuff of having her. I mean, it's an adjustment having her. It's kind of weird looking down and seeing a cow. But
it was all unknown.
Yeah.
So we really didn't know what to expect. So it was pretty much the apprehension of the learning curve.
Yeah.
But she really hasn't been much at this point.
She's so easy.
Yeah, not much more difficult than a dog or anything else.
I think Bella's actually been more of a pain in the tushy than Daisy has. Yeah, no, Daisy's been easy actually. I've only heard her moo once or twice.
Times the first day or two.
Yeah, I actually wish that we heard her moo a little bit more. No, she's been really easy. I think the hard part is going to be like when it comes to trying to figure out breeding and milking and all of that stuff, which we've never done.
So the second part is, what is the biggest joy in having her home and biggest challenge? Well, there's no challenges yet.
No, I love having her. I love having my little fluffy cow. She's so stinking cute.
It's just so fun to go down there. A dog's one thing, a cat's one thing, a hamster, whatever, rabbits. But a cow, I don't know, for us that's just so far out of
anything we
ever thought we'd ever be doing.
Yeah.
That just to go down there and be like, we're still like, we have a cow.
I like to watch her eat.
She's a calf. We got to get the terminology right for all those purists.
Yeah.
Okay, so someone asked, can we talk about cost if you're comfortable doing so? How much did she cost? Cost to feed her, medical costs, additional costs. We're sure those are going to come into play. All those. What did we pay for her?
I think she was $1,800.
$1,800. Less than Bella. As far as ongoing costs, we're not going to really answer that question. We'll probably do a whole video about that later.
Yeah.
We need some time. We've only had her a little over a month, and we need some time to figure all that out.
Yeah, we've only had to go to the feed store like once to replenish stuff, so we don't really know
We do know that we do a lot of dairy. Yeah. Raw dairy is very expensive. So we know she's going to pay for herself with all of the dairy. But we have to figure all that out, and we'll let you know every small detail about that. Yeah. So a lot of people wanted to know about her breed and what that's all about. She is a Dexter. That's an Irish breed. It's a heritage breed. It's been, the first mention of it, I think, was in the 1700s. So they've been around a long, long time. We got a Dexter because they're half the size of a normal cow. They give half the milk, but that's probably good for us.
That's all we need.
And we'll get into each of these things with the more questions that are coming. They're a hardy breed. They are very resilient.
They'll eat. They're not picky eaters.
No, they'll eat almost any hay. She is starting to eat the Bermuda now, just in case you guys were wondering since the last video.
They're dual purpose, which means that you can have them for milk or meat if you choose to do that.
Actually, tri-purpose, because the third one is they have been used in the past for labor, pulling carts and things like that. Back to the dual purpose, if you look at a lot of milk cows, they have a big udder, nice and plump, but the rest of them is very, very skinny, almost like bony hips. And I know a lot of YouTuber
Jerseys.
homesteaders, they'll get comments from people who don't know any better saying you need to feed your cow more. You need to feed them. They look like they're starving. That's typical of a dairy cow because they put all of their energy and nutrition into the milk rather than into their body, their meat, their muscles.
Mm-hmm.
And so a Dexter, because they're a dual purpose breed, they give milk, but they also just look like a beef cow that's been shrunk down.
Which is one of the reasons why I liked them, is because I wanted her to look like a cow and not, like, I noticed the Jerseys tend to, look bony, I guess, and I wanted her to look like a cute, chunky cow.
Yeah.
So the next question was, how long do Dexter cows live? So they live for about 25 years, which is pretty standard, I think, for cows, even though they're small.
Yeah.
That's still pretty normal.
Which is weird to think, when you get a dog, you feel like you're lucky if you have them 12, 14 years. And so to think about having a pet for that long,
I know.
I mean, I'll be
I don't even want to think about it. How big is Daisy? Oh, we don't know how big she is.
I mean, we haven't measured her and we don't have a way to weigh her. The biggest question we got, though, was how big will she get?
Yes.
Knowing that she's a miniature cow, I think a lot of people see miniature cows on Instagram and they're like feeding like bottles and they're like the size of a dog and they're taking them to the store. That's not how those cows are going to end up. They're going to eventually get 700 to 900 pounds. So that being said, Daisy, a Dexter cow, is one of the smallest breeds, older breeds. There is one like in India that's a little bit smaller, but in terms of what we can really readily get here, she will be between 40 inches tall, 43 inches tall. So she's got a few more inches to go. And she'll end up being around 700 pounds, which is about half the size of a regular cow. I mean, some cows can get way up high, but it takes her 2 years to be fully grown. So right now she's 7 months.
She was born in May.
To compare that to a Jersey, which I would say is the second to the smallest of the typical cow breeds, a Jersey gets to be about the same weight, but they're quite a bit taller than a Dexter, and that's because they're skinnier.
Do they have any problems birthing their babies on their own? Oh, good question. Actually, no. That's one of the reasons why we picked this breed, was because they can birth their babies without any assistance whatsoever. Most of the time. Yeah, I should say that there's always those instances, but
like some people breed Jerseys to be smaller. There's a range in size of Jerseys. They call them mini Jerseys. And sometimes they won't have the ease of calving because maybe the bull is a bigger size than the cow, and so she'll end up growing a baby inside her that's too big to really come out on its own. Dexters don't have that issue.
Yeah. Which is good for me because I've already been told that if there were any issues, they'd probably come up to me, because whenever there's weird stuff involved, suddenly Brian goes blue and leaves.
This next question is kind of along the same lines. Are cows like Daisy the same as miniature horses? Do they have a reduced size but the same size teeth as regular cows? So sometimes have overcrowded teeth in their jaws, or is everything about her also miniature in size? Yeah, it's pretty much if you took a shrinking ray and put it on a normal cow and everything shrinks at the same time. Because there's no weird breeding process to get them that small. I mean, they've been that small for over 200-300 years. There's no issues. Another question was, it's probably coming up. Somebody else asked, it's probably coming up, but they were wondering if, this type, because she's small, has any more health problems, which we also talked about already. But no, it's just everything is the same as a normal sized cow.
Okay, would a cow like Daisy do okay in our hot, humid summers? I asked this because she has a long coat. Is her coat that long in the summer? No. We didn't even know she was actually going to be furry when we got her. That was just like a really awesome surprise, because for those of you probably know, I wanted a Highland. Why did I forget the name? I wanted a Highland. I wanted a big furry cow, but they obviously wouldn't do well here in the summers because of their long fur. Plus, it's hard to keep up with the brushing. She has, her mom has Montana genes in her that will make her furry during the winter, but she'll lose that extra fluff in the summer. So it actually works out perfect for her.
Yeah, her mom, we never saw her have a winter coat
Yeah.
because we went in the
During
summer
summers.
both times, and she was just sleek and smooth. So yeah, it was a nice surprise. And so you could have the Dexters handle a very wide range. They can go to sub-zero all the way up to those hot, humid summers that you have in the southern United States.
Yeah. Are you thinking of putting walls around Daisy's barn? In Canada, cows are in an enclosed structure. Just wondering. Not necessarily walling her in because we don't have extreme temperatures like Canada and other places. We do have, I think we showed that we put up some
Plastic
for the rain so that she doesn't get rained on, but we don't have to worry about snow and things like that to where there could be an issue. And honestly, from what we've learned, they like to be outside. So
in the snow, they'll stand out there versus going in their barn. We know people who have seen them in a blizzard just standing out there instead of going into the barn.
Yeah.
And seeing that our temperatures, it's rare to get to 32 degrees Fahrenheit, 0 Celsius. I know that one. It's just not a need here. Their shelter is strictly for shade mostly. And that's why we have it.
And to make us feel better that she has something because she doesn't care.
Yeah. So if a predator happened to get into Daisy's enclosure, how would Bella protect her if she can't get in there?
It's amazing how high Bella can jump. Well, just like if, let's say, a coyote was able to jump into the enclosure, Bella is just as easy able to jump into the enclosure. So not worried about that at all. And we've actually seen, just yesterday, I saw a coyote going across the top portion. They don't even want to come near.
No, I mean, that's the thing
Bella
about
there.
wild animals. Mountain lions, coyotes, whatever, they're not going to risk getting hurt to get a meal. Because in the wild, if a wild animal gets hurt, that could be their end. And so just the fact that Bella is anywhere near here means they're not going to come in. And if they come close, Bella will scare them away.
Yeah.
But worst come to worst, she, probably not now yet, she's a little young, but she will be fierce enough to fight them off if it ever came to that. But the chances of that is so rare.
Just her presence alone, I've noticed that we don't even have bunnies coming around.
Bunnies and squirrels have been gone since day one of Bella being here. It's worth it just for that.
I kind of miss the bunnies.
No.
They're cute. Daisy seems very happy on her own. I was informed by a breeder that Dexters need more than one to be content. Everyone says Dexters are noisy, loud. Are you planning on getting her a friend? So she is social herd animal. Okay.
So cows are social herd animals. They do like the companionship. However, single milk cows, family milk cows, have been kept singularly for generations, for hundreds of years. But they do want companionship. So it doesn't have to be bovine companionship. They just want another animal that they can bond to. Now, we thought it was going to be Bella. Hasn't happened yet. It'd be nice if she could bond with us, but we're not down there all the time. We're not going to be sitting there grazing with her.
I think she's bonded with you.
Yeah, I mean, she's good, but I'm not out there enough. So
yes, we will be getting
we are going to be getting her a friend. We're not going to tell you what yet, but I would say within maybe a month or so.
Oh, do I need to look for a new mug of whatever we're going to get her so that we can...
Yeah, it won't be a cow. So we aren't allowed to have more than one large animal in our zoning. And while she's
we're
a miniature,
we're not supposed to. I mean, people do, but we're not really supposed to. And I wouldn't want to overcrowd her.
Yeah, so she is considered a large animal even though she's a miniature cow. So the animal we get has to be smaller than her to legally be able to be here. Now, in the future, we've talked about getting more land, and so we don't know what's going to happen with that. But as of right now, one cow is all we can have. She hasn't exhibited any signs of being lonely. So typically they will moo a lot. And like we said, we haven't heard her moo since day 2 of being here. They also would be lethargic. They'd lay around. They wouldn't be interested in food. And that's nothing that she is showing. But just to, probably more to calm our anxieties and your guys' anxieties, yeah, she will be getting a friend, and we'll let you know what that's going to be within the next month or so.
Yeah. I mean, come on, who doesn't want to add? We might as well just keep adding to our farm.
Yeah.
Okay. Ooh, you can have that one.
Ugh.
As we keep getting it.
Every video, there's several. I think her halter's too tight. Are you sure her halter's not too tight? I promise you, it is not too tight. In fact, it's very loose. It
Mm-hmm.
moves very freely. I think because she's got long hair, it looks like it's like digging into her hair, but it's not.
It's not. It's weak. It's super loose, and
She can probably go several more months before we have to change the
yeah,
size.
and I'm sure that we'll take it off at some point. But for right now, it's just a safety thing for her to have it on. To
Right
not
now,
mess with it.
she
And it
doesn't.
really does. It doesn't bother her at all. Like she doesn't
No.
care. It'd probably bother her if we took it off because she's so used to it.
Yeah. She is not, she still will try to get away when I try to, you know,
Brush
grab her to
her.
brush her or whatever we need to do, put her fly spray on. I couldn't do it without the halter. So until she is
Mm-hmm.
able to stand there and I walk in and she comes to me or just at least stands there, she's got to have it on just for general care.
Plus, I don't know if this is one of the questions on there, but it makes it easier because since we have to keep her on a lead, which I know we've gotten questions about before, why is she on a lead?
That's coming.
It makes it easier to just put the lead on her and go. And oh, look, it's in there.
It's actually the next one.
Oh, is it? Oh, look at me getting ahead of myself. Okay.
When are you going to let Daisy out without a lead? That's another big question.
Yeah.
Not until, and I answered this a couple videos ago, not until the pasture is ready. There's holes out there, there's logs out there, and
It's a safety thing. We don't want her to get hurt because obviously she's inquisitive about wanting to go around, and if she sees a little patch of grass over here, she's going to wander towards it and not realize that there's unstable logs and stuff that we don't want to take the chance that she could get hurt on. So until we have everything, um,
filled in, and
yeah, just safe.
we're hoping
for her.
spring.
Yeah.
We're actually hoping to plant. No, I'll get to that in a minute. Does Daisy get brushed often, or is that shiny, silky look just natural for her breed? She always looks so clean.
She actually does, especially if you compare her to Bella.
Cleanness?
Yeah, Bella always looks like a dirty dog
Yeah.
after playing in the dirt. No, she actually always looks. We do brush her, but
Maybe every 4 or 5 days, though.
yeah, it's not a regular thing. But she does have she has a good coat.
Mm-hmm. How much poop have you collected, and what are you doing with it? A lot. I've never weighed it or measured it, but we have a wheelbarrow and we just kind of fill it up. And I would say maybe fill the wheelbarrow every 3 to 4 days.
Yeah.
So it's quite a bit. I don't think it was.
She doesn't do big poops.
It wasn't as much as I thought it would be. Of course, she's not
She's
full
littler.
grown.
She's littler, so I guess littler poops. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's not as big as
No.
I was expecting it to be, which is very nice.
And of course, we're going to be using it for the garden and for everything around here. It does have to be aged 3 to 6 months before you put it on your garden. And so right now, we're just piling it up and letting it age.
Mm-hmm.
I have sprinkled some out in the pasture where I want to plant grass first so it can just naturally start to break down. I'm also hoping maybe some of the hay that's in there will just seed itself with the rains we're getting.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know if that'll work or not. Just an experiment.
Fun to try.
Along the same lines, several people have asked if we're worried about grazon. So grazon, for those of you who don't know, is a broadleaf herbicide that hay farmers will use to kill weeds in their hay fields so that they can just give you a nice bunch of hay with no weeds. The problem with it is it does go through the digestive tract of farm animals and comes out in their manure and lasts for 2 to 3 years. So if you put it on your garden, it's still going to kill anything that grows there that's a broadleaf plant, which is most of the things we grow. So unfortunately, we really haven't found a way where someone can guarantee that the hay we buy is grazon free.
Yeah.
We're still looking into that.
We're trying to find organic.
Yeah, but it's hard.
It's hard out here.
And I'm sure it's really expensive once you find it. So the faster we can get her on mostly grass in our pasture, the better. As of right now with the manure, I will be testing it before using it on the garden. And the easy way to do that is to mix it into the soil in a small area and plant some beans. Beans come up very quickly. If they don't come up quickly or they come up deformed, then you know you have an issue. If they come up and they look normal, then you're good to go.
Does Daisy only eat hay and grass? Cows need grain to be healthy.
No, they don't, unless they are genetically raised for generations on grain, which a lot of cows are, especially Jerseys, because they want to bump up that milk production. So it is true that we will get less milk being grass only, but they do not need hay to be healthy.
They don't need grain.
Yeah, don't need grain to be healthy. Dairy people who run large dairy operations, they need grain because they want to get as much milk out of that animal as humanly possible. But if you go back to a cow's natural diet, it's grass, they're foraging out in the prairies. Plus, it's not sustainable. You know, if we had a time where we couldn't get grain, we still have grass. It's also not sustainable because in wintertime, grain's not available naturally. It is if you store it up. So it's just not something we want to get into. And because she was practically raised and her parents were practically raised grain free, it's just a natural thing to just keep going with that.
In the image, it looks like she's eating straw. Straw is more for bedding than food. Oh yeah, I remember that picture. No, if that was the oat hay, I think. Yeah, it does look like straw, but it's actually oat.
Just a drier hay. All of the new hay we got is green. That was one we got from the breeder that she had to bring. They grow their own, so we knew that was grazon free. And Daisy liked it.
She did.
It took her a while to go on to something green, to figure it out and to like it.
Does she need to be dewormed yearly?
It just depends. We are also trying to do things as naturally as possible. The least amount of medications and things, the better. And so to just worm her because it's that time of year, pumpkins and actually a compound in the seeds of pumpkins is a natural dewormer. There's been studies on this. And so she's got a ton of pumpkins right now, and she probably will for another month or two. We've got so many.
Not to mention next year from now, with all the seeds that are going into the ground, we're going to have quite the pumpkin patch next year.
Yeah. But you can also, we will test her manure on a yearly basis, maybe even bi-yearly, and just see the number of, worm eggs or whatever however that test works. I know there's a test. I haven't done it.
Why?
I'd rather do that than be elbow deep in her hind end.
Okay.
That's you.
So you guys might be laughing out there, but it's actually really true. He doesn't deal with fluids. Like when Noah used to be little and he would barf, like Brian would immediately go, whoop, and he'd have to leave. So it was all left up to me. So yeah.
Not arguing that.
Why haven't you seeded some grass seed in the area where Daisy is in the pasture?
Well, there's not a lot of places to seed it. And number two, we can't water it. We have no sprinklers. So now that the rain is coming, there is the area that Bill has done down at the bottom. It's a fairly large size. I'm going to be spreading some seed out there and seeing what happens. And then she'd have a larger area than she has right now to graze on. But we still need to have the well dug and have the logs all filled in with soil before we do the whole thing.
Yeah.
When she eats all the grass in one spot, do you have to reseed that spot for more grass to grow, or does it come back on its own?
Cows tend to graze down to the bottom, but they leave a little stub of grass
to where it'll
keep regrowing. So you do rotational.
So we are going to rotationally graze. Even though we have a small pasture, we're going to take a 15 by 50 or 60 section on a daily basis and just have a wire, electric wire, to keep her in that spot. The next day she moves to the next spot, next. And hopefully by the end of that week, if we continue to water and it's nice weather, that first spot she'll go back to and start that process again. Because she's a smaller cow, number one, she eats a lot less. Number two, she doesn't trample the pasture as much as a cow who weighs 1,500 pounds would, right? So they tear up the pasture easily. Daisy won't be doing that.
Will you need someone to come to the homestead to trim her hooves? Yes.
Yeah. I don't know how often. We've heard that cows who are on like concrete, like in a
stall,
in like a commercial program, they actually have to have their feet their hooves trimmed more, which I thought it would be less.
I thought it would have been the opposite.
But when they're on a pasture, it's actually a lot less.
Mm-hmm.
So it just depends on when it's time. All right, now we're moving on to what a lot of you had a lot more questions about, which is breeding her and milking her, which is why we're having her.
Right. Do you intend to breed Daisy so that you have milk? If yes, at what age does she need to be? So yes, we are planning on breeding Daisy so that we can have milk. That's the whole reason why we got her. We are waiting until she's 15 months is when she can be bred. And so around July.
And they have a 9-month gestation period like people. And so that will give us an April, May calf, which will be perfect. What are your plans for breeding? Will she be going back to the farm for a visit or artificial insemination?
Our breeder is actually really awesome and offered to let her come back to the farm, and she would keep her for a couple of months and let her be bred
and
there.
She has a new bull that's completely out of the bloodlines
Yes.
of Daisy, so that'll work well. Artificial insemination is very, what's the word I'm looking for? Hit or miss.
Yeah, the percentages
50% chance.
Yeah.
And it's expensive.
It is.
So it's $500 to take her back to the farm for that.
Yeah.
Now we don't have to feed her the whole time she's gone, so that saves some money.
And she's keeping her for 2 months.
Or artificial insemination, you order what you want on a website and they send it to you. Now you still have to have a technician, a vet, come out and do it. So you're paying for the semen and you're paying for the actual process. And it's not just they come out and put it in and it's done. There's like hormones they have to give them and all kinds of things to make sure it's at the right time and everything goes to plan. And usually, 50% of the time it doesn't. And I think it's about the same cost as sending her back to the farm.
Yeah, I think it was about the same cost. So we're getting the 2 months for...
It might have been a little cheaper, but if it doesn't work.
Yeah. Okay, will her milk taste any different than a Jersey cow?
It shouldn't.
No?
Cows have varying degrees of butter fat. Yeah. Like a Holstein, this kind of cow, they have very low butter fat. They're more about volume of milk because that's generally what's in the commercial space. We want the butter fat to do all of the wonderful things that you can do with butter. So they're very close to a Jersey in terms of butter fat, which is great because Jersey's like the prime cream of the crop cow for butter fat.
Yeah. How much milk can a mini cow be expected to produce on a daily basis? Daisy is expected to produce 2 to 4 gallons, which is more than enough that we need.
Yeah, she comes from a line of women with big udders. So we're expecting her to be on the upper end of that. Who knows? You don't know. But yeah, 2 to 4 gallons, whereas maybe a Jersey might do 4 to 6 to 8 sometimes, especially on grain.
How long can you milk Daisy? Well, if we keep breeding her and going through all that, 15 to 20 years.
Yeah,
we can keep going.
That's usually how long they want to breed.
Yeah.
After that, they're like, I'm done. And so, but that's, the majority of their life. So
it's a long time. Yeah. I'd be tired by then.
This is a really a good question. This person said, why not get one that's already producing milk? Now you have to worry through a pregnancy and figure out what to do with the baby. Well, unless we're only planning on getting milk one time and never again, she has to be bred every year.
Right.
So we'd have those things to consider the next year anyway. We didn't get her this way because, number one, we weren't ready.
No.
We weren't ready because we still had to do all this pasture stuff. So we didn't want to, plus we didn't ever have the experience of taking care of a cow before. We wanted to get that under our belt before we started all the process of milking and all of that.
It would have been really overwhelming to get a cow that was ready to be milked right there with a baby that we had 2 to take care of and trying to figure out the whole mechanics of milking a cow and stuff. So I think this is a nice way to ease us into it. We're getting used to having her and going through the process.
Not to mention, Dexter is the breed we wanted, and they are not all that readily available.
No, we got so lucky.
So you take what you get, but we also were able to see the mom and find out that she looked prime for milking. And so we wanted a calf from this mom. Now, the breeder wasn't going to give us the mom. But the baby, who hopefully has the same genetics, that's how we got Daisy. Now, I will say it is highly recommended that you do what this person said, to go ahead and get a cow that's already got a calf and is in milk. It just lets you know that this is a good, you can see everything is working properly. And anyway.
Yeah, we take a chance by having her be a calf and raising her and making sure it all turns out okay. But I think that was a risk we were willing to take, because the idea of having to take on all the extras right off the bat when we had no idea what we were doing would be way too much.
Okay. This next part is a little difficult to talk about, and we don't even know how we're going to handle it yet. The question is, if you breed Daisy, what will be happening to the calves? So you have 3 options. Number 1.
2 in my head.
Number 1.
We
your
keep
option.
it.
Mm-hmm. We've already discussed that we are not allowed to have more than 1 at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
The second one is you, as some people say, send them to freezer camp. I think you all know what that means. Now we're sitting.
You have to understand that it took me months just to eat a chicken egg when we got the chickens. Yes. Like it took me. Yeah, I'm one of those.
We are city people, and so that one is really hard to swallow and to even think about. But we are meat eaters, and so in an optimal world, we would take responsibility for the meat we eat. And you know, when you think about how meat is generally raised out there commercially, it's not a very pretty picture. And so if we are going to eat meat and we are able to give that cow the best possible life for the duration of its life, and it only has one bad split second in its whole life, I mean, that's the ideal way to do it as a meat eater. I mean, just knowing that we wouldn't have to contribute to the way cows are treated out there in the commercial space, I mean, that helps the decision a lot. The third option would be to sell it. However, typically if you sell it, especially if it's a bull or a steer, a male, it's going to end up in the same way. I mean, that's why people buy bulls or steers for sure. Bulls, you know, maybe they want to breed it, but or breed with it. But it's probably going to end up in the freezer anyway, and we don't know, we can't control how that cow is treated, or that bull or whatever it is, once it leaves our property.
Yeah.
We haven't come to that point yet. We've still got about 2 years to think about it. Emotionally, mentally, it's a big step for us, as I'm sure it would be with a lot of people. And so we're just taking it one day at a time and figuring all this out. Like, we're always honest with you, and we're always open and just kind of putting it out there. And so that's where we are right now.
When the time comes, do you intend to milk by hand? And if so, have you ever done it before? Yes, we are intending to milk by hand. The process of getting the machine, there's more chance of bacteria, not to mention when you only have 1 cow, it's more from what I understand, it's more of a pain in the tushy to have to deal with the machines than just doing it by hand.
There's a lot of cleaning involved, daily cleaning. It's supposed to take about 15 minutes to milk a cow by hand. And by the time you've milked it with the machine and then had to clean every part of that machine, you're probably more than the 15 minutes. So we do have to work up and get our hands strengthened. I gotta
start working on my carpal tunnel issues. And no, we have not milked by hand yet. So
that's going to be fun for you guys to watch. I think I can do it. I've seen so many videos online of people milking cows. I think I'll get it like that. So we'll see.
I have a feeling we're going to be replaying this video later on to
see
how you do.
What do you guys think? Do you think I'll be able to do it? I mean, she's going to be the milkmaid mostly, so. As far as cleaning, hand milking is the cleanest way to do it. When you introduce a machine and you've got all of those tubes, it is very difficult to get every single bit of bacteria out of there. And that is where you run into problems with raw milk. It's not the milk, it's the cleanliness issue. And so for us, Just doing it normally, doing it the way it's been done for thousands of years is just the best way for us to do it.
Aren't you worried you'll be tied to your farm? You know you will have to milk twice a day at the same time of day every day, right?
I could think of worse places to be tied to.
I know, I really like it here.
But that's actually not correct. There's not a rule that says twice a day, the same time of day, every day. We are going to be calf sharing, meaning that a cow produces way more milk than the baby needs. And so the calf takes half and we take the rest, which means we don't have to milk twice a day. We can milk once a day because the calf is taking care of the excess. You want to milk a cow out completely every day to avoid things like mastitis, but the calf is helping with that. As far as doing it the same time every day, or I think most of the concern is getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning and going out there no matter what. You can set the schedule, especially if you're calf sharing. It just needs to be done around the same time every day.
Yeah. And then don't forget that once she dries off, there's that whole period where you're actually not having to be tied down here to milk her. And that's when we can take our vacations and do stuff. So it just takes a little bit of pre-planning.
Yeah. And Dexter's, I've heard, can even, especially calf sharing, they can go a day or two without being milked. So if you want to take a quick getaway, but we also have people who can milk her for us.
We do. We actually have several.
At least
people
that's what they say now. We'll see when it comes to the actual time, but it just takes some planning, and we're okay with that.
Advice on finding quality stock. We actually went online to the
American Dexter Cattle Association.
Yeah, and
Britain has one too. I think it's just look it up for UK. But yeah, they have all the breeders. They've got frequently asked questions, lots of information about the breed. So any breeder that is reputable, is a member generally of this association. So you can find it that way. This can be for you.
Are you going to get her some toys? Yes. She's
already ordered the Christmas presents.
Yeah, she's got some stuff coming for Christmas. I can't help it.
I'll do this question.
Okay,
my big question. I thought it was Emilie who wanted the cow. How come she's not doing any of the chores? By the way, nice work, Emilie. How'd you get him to do it?
Okay, well,
I wanted the cow first. I'm the one that started this whole thing right after we moved here.
And I said no.
And then it was almost like a reverse psychology thing. I gave it up. I'm like, okay, I can focus on the gardens and whatever else. I gave it up, at least for the time being. And then all of a sudden, her and Noah started in on me. She went on the American Dexter Cattle Association. She found the breeder. She did all of this. So
Brian and I have a deal. He's taking care of the daily chore activities of the manure and all that stuff. And then I get the milking. Well, we're both going to milk, but it's mainly going to be me. And then I'm the one that's going to deal with once we get the milk. So making the butter and the cheese and all
you hold her to that.
So yeah, that's the deal. So that's why you see him mainly right now, is because that hits his part coming in right now. But don't worry, I got my chores waiting for me.
All right, the last question is, will you ever do artwork on a t-shirt of Daisy and Bella and then sell them on here?
Yes, I've actually been after you for a really long time because we've had people asking for t-shirts and
for the gardening channel.
For the gardening channel and stuff. So we would like to do that. We've just been having difficulty finding people to.
We tried Teespring. We've still got some things on Teespring for the gardening channel, but it's not ideal.
Not what we want.
So if you guys know any artists that would want to contribute art maybe, or if you know anybody who does like screen printing, have them get in touch with us on our website, nextlevelgardening.tv. Fill out the form there, and Emily's in charge of all that. She'll take care of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that we haven't wanted to. It's just that we really are having a hard time finding quality stuff.
And it's just a low thing on my priority list.
Yeah.
I'd like to do it, but there's also a lot of other things I'd like to do too.
Yeah.
So, but if that's something you guys want, let us know in the comments. Okay, it hasn't gotten too hot in here.
Hasn't got hot. You know what? I have real quick. We've got two things I'd like. I wanted to take care of while we were here.
This is a surprise to me.
I actually had two very sweet people reach out to me, and we don't typically do this, so please don't flood the
This is
email
probably
list.
a big mistake.
Probably, but honestly, it was just the sweetest thing, and I just couldn't resist, especially this time of year. I got the sweetest email from Nancy, and her 92-year-old mother, trying to find her name, Adele, loves watching our videos. And she asked me if you would consider doing a little hello to her because she watches you religiously. And I just thought with it being the season, and 92 years old, and she loves you. So, hi, Adele.
Hi, Adele. Hi, Nancy. Merry Christmas. Thank you so much for watching.
And then there was one other one that caught my eye that I wanted to do. Her husband also watches you religiously, and she asked if you would consider doing a Christmas shout out to him. So unfortunately, I don't know his name, but I know Kristen. Kristen, you asked for a shout out to your husband.
Hi, Kristen's husband.
So I wish I knew his name, but we don't. But if you're watching, hi and Merry Christmas.
This will be our last video before Christmas, right?
Oh, I don't know.
Because this will be out Friday. The next one will be out Tuesday, and Monday's Christmas. So
Merry Christmas.
We're not going to see you before then. So everyone have a great Christmas, and we will see you shortly after. Actually, the next day.
Bye.
Bye, guys.